pilots accidentally turning off the engine,
We are having flight control problems.
to helicopter stunts gone very wrong. These are the horrifying moments in aviation that caused chaos. Considering how calm they all are, if it were me, my soul would have left my body before the plane even crashed. This plane was just about to land in Daegu, South Korea, when a dumb passenger decided to open the emergency exit. Apparently, he felt suffocated and panicked. So, hoping to get out quickly, he opened the door mid-flight. Thankfully, this disastrous situation was not fatal. This traffic camera captured the moment a small plane crashed on a busy highway in the Twin Cities, Minnesota. The plane probably lost its engine, so the pilot had no choice but to land on the highway, which was the safest option. Thankfully, no one got injured except for the SUV, with which it collided after the touchdown. Imagine you're about to go on a plane trip, and you especially book a window seat for yourself. Then, mid-flight, that same window completely blows off. Well, guess what? It happened just last year. It was an Alaska Airlines Boeing 737 MAX 9 carrying about 200 passengers, who were all traumatized for their lives when an entire passenger window blew off mid-flight. The plane had to make an emergency landing, which was successful, with 0 casualties. This man has gone through a real-life Final Destination moment. His name is Ethan Williams, and he is one of the unfortunate passengers on Cathay Pacific Flight 884. The plane was en route from Hong Kong to Los Angeles, but it wasn't going to be a comfortable flight. Instead, it was one of the most intense flights in aviation history. Mid-flight, the pilot made an announcement addressing the emergency situation they were currently in. Ethan immediately took out his camera and started recording his experience, which might have been his very last moment alive. The passengers were then given even more shocking news. They might have to prepare for a water landing. Thankfully, that didn't happen, as the pilot once again got on the speaker and announced that they were going for a normal landing. Every passenger looked relieved upon hearing that. Finally, the flight detoured to a military base in the Aleutian Islands in Alaska and made a safe landing. Just moments after landing, this plane caught fire, forcing all the passengers to run for their lives. This was a Boeing 737 that landed at Denver International Airport carrying 178 passengers, all of whom rushed out through escape doors, some even standing up on the wings as flames slowly spread everywhere. Prior to this madness, the aircraft was moving to the gate until the unexpected occurred. All the passengers, including crew members, survived, and about 12 people were rushed to the hospital due to minor injuries. And for the plane, the flames were soon brought under control, leaving a side of it completely burnt out. Now, imagine looking out the window only to see the engine on fire and slowly deteriorating. This happened on a Boeing 777 when its engine burst into flames while flying over Denver, Colorado. Fortunately, even after such a disastrous situation, the pilots managed to land the plane safely. The video went viral over the internet, adding even more fear of planes to everyone's minds. Now, this is the closest thing you'll get to a dragon-breathing fire. It happened on a flight scheduled from Texas to Mexico when, shortly after the takeoff, the engine started emitting fire due to a mechanical issue. It must have been a terrifying moment for the passengers, but thankfully, everything ended safely as the plane made an emergency landing. But not for this next plane. This is one of the most brutal plane accidents to have occurred. It happened on January 2nd, 2024, when a grave mistake by the pilot took the lives of at least 5 people. It was a collision on the runway when a passenger plane, an Airbus A350-900, was about to land at Haneda Airport in Tokyo, Japan, and crashed into a Japan Coast Guard aircraft. As soon as the crash occurred, both planes burst into flames, making a scene of complete destruction. Now, whose mistake was it? According to sources, the passenger plane was given clearance to land, while the Coast Guard aircraft was not but still went on the runway, resulting in a tragedy. These passengers are the chilliest guys you can imagine. Imagine sitting near the window and noticing that your plane's engine has caught fire. Then there's the guy sitting beside you who says, "Is it on fire? Well, lucky me, I won't have to go to the office tomorrow." Then a girl says, "Oh, we've got another engine, so no big problem, right?" If it was me, I would scream at the top of my lungs until I passed out. The infamous Asiana Airlines Flight 214 departed from Incheon International Airport near Seoul, South Korea. The plane was carrying 307 passengers, including the crew members, and the whole flight was smooth until it was time for landing. Right when the plane landed at San Francisco International Airport, catastrophe hit, resulting in a brutal crash. It's believed that the crash happened because the plane was flying very low and slow, causing the tail to break off during the touchdown. It took the lives of 3 people, and many were injured, making it one of the saddest and most tragic stories in aviation history. Now you know why adrenaline can sometimes lead to some serious consequences. This is footage from the famous show Top Gear Korea. In this particular episode, the plan was simple: conduct a race between a car and a military helicopter. It's not a bad idea, right? Especially considering that professionals are involved, but you just never know what might happen in the future. Both vehicles get in position, ready to start the race, and when they do, the car outmatches the helicopter with a significant lead. But we're not here for the race at all, because at the very end, the helicopter crashes after losing to the car. The pilot lost control and smashed the aircraft onto the ground, completely destroying it. All 5 passengers inside this helicopter must be very lucky and unlucky at the same time. Well, unlucky for obvious reasons, because the pilot crashed the aircraft into the water, and lucky because the bystanders were there to rescue them quickly. It happened near Pearl Harbor in Hawaii when a cameraman captured a perfectly flying helicopter suddenly losing control and crashing into the water right in front of him. Stunts seem to never go well when they involve aircraft, just like in this video. On November 12, 2022, people captured a video of 2 historical military airplanes, a B-17 Flying Fortress and a Bell P-63 King Cobra, flying during an air show at Dallas Executive Airport. But the show soon turned into a disaster when both aircraft collided with each other mid-air. The debris fell everywhere, and when the plane struck the ground, a massive blast of flames erupted, creating an intensifying and destructive scene that shocked every bystander. You can see a small white plane approaching the runway, but at the same time, a black SUV enters the frame from the left side. Nobody could have predicted what was about to happen as both vehicles collided with each other. The plane's bottom hit the top of the SUV, causing the car's roof to rip off, but the aircraft that crashed onto the runway sustained the most damage. Thankfully, student pilot William Devis and the people inside the car were all safe, except for some minor injuries. Well, there goes the Christmas tree and the poor helicopter trying to assemble it. It was a terrifying moment for everyone, including the ones on the ground who ran as soon as they saw the rotor blades get caught in the cables holding up the cranes. The blades immediately broke off, leading to a crash. Thankfully, no fatalities occurred, thanks to the seatbelt that saved the pilot from falling off the aircraft. Just imagine yourself driving down the road, and suddenly, a massive passenger airplane comes crashing down, barely missing you. Well, that's exactly what this dashcam footage captured on February 4th, 2015, when a passenger plane came crashing down, hitting a bridge before crashing into the Keelung River in Taiwan. There were a total of 58 occupants, out of which only 15 survived this horrifying incident, and it turns out the plane was almost brand new, only a 10-month-old ATR 72-600, which crashed shortly after takeoff. It's believed the pilot accidentally shut down a still functional engine, as the right side engine had already failed prior to this. This is one of those moments when you should actually thank God for saving you, in a situation where your survival rate is nearly zero. This plane crash had all odds against it, but the pilots managed to survive. It happened in November 2022 in Montgomery County when a small plane came crashing down and struck a high-voltage power tower. The plane dangled as the rescuers tried to get the plane down and save the two pilots. In fact, it took a total of 7 long hours to finish the rescue due to foggy conditions and the power cut from the tower before they could even begin. Thankfully, these brave rescuers prevented what could have been a very terrible tragedy. You can see how the plane suffering from an engine issue flew at a very low altitude, low enough to hit the power lines and shake the traffic light. As soon as the collision occurred, the plane burst into flames and hit a few cars in its path. The car looked significantly damaged, and so did the plane. But miraculously, there were no fatalities on that unfortunate day. Someone give this man an Oscar. Now, this is called pure dedication to gaining fame and views, even if it costs one's life. His name is Trevor Jacob, an Olympic athlete and a pilot, or at least he used to be after he decided to crash his plane at Los Padres National Forest intentionally. In a YouTube video, he pretended to look all panicked as he said that the engine failed, and conveniently, he was wearing a parachute in advance. So instead of communicating and asking for help through the radio, Jacob decided to ditch the plane completely by jumping off. Well, this was a bad idea, but thankfully, he successfully landed using his parachute and found his plane's wreckage afterward. It was a foolproof plan. But when experts examined this incident, it didn't take long before his cover was blown off. Thanks to this, he had to face charges and was sentenced to 6 months in prison. This is a short clip, but it is so far one of the most shocking ones on this list. Only a few seconds into the video, a helicopter emerges from the right and comes crashing down in the water, nearly hitting the people. It was a Robinson R-44, which, on that day, severely injured 2 people, rushing them to the hospital. After watching this next video, you'll learn why showing off and overconfidence only lead to disaster. This pilot was flying his Apache helicopter in Afghanistan, and while showcasing his incredible control over the aircraft, he nearly hit a building in front. Barely missing that, it then took a detour, and it was at this point he lost control, causing the helicopter to slam into the snow. Well, there goes millions of dollars all to waste. Just take a look at this guy standing on the right side nearby when this helicopter was about to take off. At first, everything seemed fine until it wasn't. The helicopter started spinning uncontrollably, and in a matter of seconds, the blades touched the concrete beneath, causing massive destruction. The debris fell everywhere, barely missing the bystanders, but thankfully, nobody got hurt. And this next video is proof that helicopters are just a big problem. Landing a helicopter might seem pretty straightforward, but trust me, it isn't. Check out this helicopter that tried to make a fairly simple landing in Fiji. The aircraft crashed into the trees and nearly killed the cameraman. But as you already know, a cameraman never dies. While fighting the California wildfires, this water-bombing plane, aka C-130, suffered from a catastrophic failure. In the video, you can see how the wings of the plane, while releasing water, are suddenly ripped off of the body, causing it to crash nearby in the forest, killing all on board. Unfortunately, instead of controlling the fire, the crash sparked even more, causing the evacuation to be much more difficult. This footage is from inside the cockpit when a pilot and the co-pilot on a helicopter suffered a crash in the snowy mountains. In the video, you can see that everything seems to be working fine, but suddenly, the pilot loses control, and the aircraft crashes into the snow. Nobody got injured, but it was definitely a terrifying moment. And now, this next video is proof of why skydiving is basically a way to end your life. This skydiver had just opened up his parachute and was headed for a safe landing, but before he could, a plane came out of nowhere and barely missed hitting the diver. Here's yet another crazy footage taken from a dashcam on a Georgia roadway when a small plane came crashing down and hit a vehicle. In the video, it's actually very hard to spot the plane coming from afar. In fact, the plane was moving at such a high speed that you could only see it when its tilted wing hit the vehicle. Fortunately, nobody got injured, including the pilot, who was the only one on the plane. This is the sad footage of when two people, including the pilot, lost their lives when their helicopter crashed and caught fire in Rowlett. The helicopter's tail broke off, causing it to spin rapidly, as shown in the cell phone footage, and unfortunately, it crashed into a business area. The people tried their best to save the people inside the aircraft, but the flames were way too fierce to let anyone get near. Operating a seaplane is one of the hardest things you can imagine, and if you don't have the ability to even take off, then you must go back to the training center. But don't be like this pilot who, without even gaining enough speed, tried to take off, and look what happened. The plane barely lifted a few feet from the water and slammed back down. The pilot just embarrassed himself in front of a lot of people. In fact, they even laughed at him. But this next video isn't as funny as the last one. These people at a snowbird resort in Utah captured the chilling moments when two Black Hawk helicopters of the Utah National Guard suffered a brutal crash during a training exercise. At the time of this incident, the helicopters were trying to land safely, but due to the wind from the rotor blade, the snow blew everywhere, causing blindness for the pilots. This ultimately resulted in a crash, but thankfully, being very close to the ground saved everyone's life except for some minor injuries. Now, that's a protagonist making an entry to save the world. Just look at this dashcam footage of an officer from a road in Washington state on August 1st, 2019, capturing the moments when a small plane made an emergency landing. The officer immediately took a turn and followed the plane, which had landed, barely avoiding hitting any other vehicle while wobbling like crazy. The officer was definitely confused, as it was something he might never encounter again in his life. Skydiving is a very dangerous activity because you can literally die before you even hit the ground, as the plane you're jumping from is the first major threat. In this video, you can see how these skydivers are ready to jump, and when they do, the plane suddenly stalls and dives, nearly causing the divers to hit the blades. These people on the boat were enjoying their trip until they spotted a seaplane that was about to take off, so they decided to record it. In the video, you can see how the plane slowly gains speed and takes off perfectly, but then disaster strikes. The plane suddenly went vertical and lost all power in the engine, causing it to crash back into the water. The bystanders were shocked, still trying to process what had just happened. Who would have thought we humans would fly like birds one day? It turns out we can, after the invention of jetpacks. But controlling them is no easy task, as some serious accidents can occur, like what happened to this stuntman while participating in the Austrian Grand Prix. Unfortunately, he crashed midair and smashed into the ground, causing a serious impact. Thankfully, except for minor injuries, the stuntman was fine. You have to be a tough cookie to operate such a complex device. When it comes to landing a plane, there are a lot of things that can go wrong, and tire bursting is one of them, as shown in this video capturing the moments of the landing of Flight D-8624. The tires burst as soon as the plane touched down, causing debris to fall everywhere, but thankfully, the plane managed to stop without any further calamity. Now, have you ever wondered if there's another way to save the pilot in case of a crash, besides using the seat ejection system? Well, it turns out there is, and that's a parachute, a very big parachute that allows the plane to crash or land safely without suffering any damage. You can even see that in action when a pilot en route to Hawaii crashed his single-engine plane into the Pacific Ocean. Thankfully, he managed to escape safely using the full plane parachute ejected from the back of his aircraft. It was a very dramatic moment, remarkably captured by the U.S. Coast Guard as the plane safely landed in the water. This footage is from a medical helicopter that was struck by a laser at Weld County, causing the pilot to be temporarily blind. This led to an emergency landing, as things could have gone much worse, all thanks to an idiot who decided to mess with a harmless aircraft for medical emergencies. But this act didn't go unpunished, as the pilot was able to locate the criminal before landing. The infrared camera spotted him and eventually brought him to justice once he was held accountable for his stupid actions. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for has finally arrived. This is the ultimate catastrophe, something that just leaves your mouth open, failing to process so many things happening within seconds. As you can see from this headcam footage, these skydivers are about to jump from this plane. But before they can, the camera captures a horrifying moment of another plane coming into sight. It turns out their plane was approaching that other plane at a very high speed, and in the worst possible scenario, they collided. Like in a Tom Cruise movie, all the skydivers suffered the impact and fell out of the plane. The planes erupted in flames while the divers luckily survived in both aircraft and managed to jump out in time, saving their lives. If you're wondering about the pilots, they also miraculously survived as they were wearing parachutes. It's a pure skill to manage to collide planes and then also get out before crashing. Now, here's the billion-dollar question. How would you react if you were stuck in such a horrifying situation? Let me know in the comments below.